Hello, it's Ned Swan. I'm here to read more to you from my collection of poems, Manhattan, which is the story of my life in New York. As I mentioned to you before, you can get a copy of this on Amazon, either in Kindle or in paperback. I hope you're enjoying the poem so far. The first part of this book is called Manhattan Lullaby. It's a very long poem, and I just read the prologue of that to you last time. This time, we'll get started with part one. Part one. I remember the 1970s, living in Chelsea. It was gritty and cheap. Puerto Rican bodegas on 8th Avenue above 14th Street. Filling, cheap and tasty Cuban Chinese meals at Mi Chinita Diner or the little green-painted Asia de Cuba. When I learned 25 years later an expensive, fashionable eatery in the painfully trendy St. Martin's Hotel opened under the name Asia de Cuba, I nearly puked in disgust. In Chelsea of those days, no galleries, no fashionable hotels, just dumps where alcoholics on welfare crashed, warehouses, longshoremen's unions, Irish waterfront beer joints, and some lovely 19th century brick row houses that families of relatively modest means could buy in this distinctly unfashionable district. The abandoned West Side Highway traced the Hudson shore, broken tarmac grown through with persistent weeds and grass, dangerous holes in the surface covered over with rusting squares of corrugated iron sheeting. It was forbidden to go there, but we used it to run from 15th Street almost to the Battery and back. How we could run in those days. Every Sunday, I would stop by my friend's apartment on the Upper West Side near Central Park, and we ran the 6-mile circuit around the park, sprinting a race the last half mile, but I could never beat my friend. It didn't even make us tired. Sometimes we'd head over to a playground on Columbus Avenue for a couple of hours of basketball in the hot afternoon. We were ludicrously fit. Thinking back about it now, I can barely believe it. We played basketball, football, and softball in the lawyers' leagues, in addition to working absurdly long hours as junior lawyers. Think serfs. In New York law practices. In 1976, the celebration of 200 years of America, watching the tall ship's procession from the balcony of a tower block high above the Hudson River on a bright summer's day, a friend of Polish descent shouting Polska, Polska, as the big square rigger from Poland floated by, pushed by the brisk summer wind. I became a lawyer that year. I was so young. You have heard the expression, will work for food? Well, I did. In 1977, I left the law firm where I had worked for 2 years to set up my own practice with no clients, little money, and a great view from a little office high in Rockefeller Center at a rent I had no way to pay. Every day, I dressed in my Brooks Brothers suit, took my briefcase, tap danced past the bronze statue of Atlas into my office. Well, in my romantic imagination, in reality, I can't tap dance, and read the New York Times every page, every story, every day. After a couple of weeks, I started to get referrals from friends, classmates, acquaintances, of people who needed legal help but couldn't pay much, all kinds of matters, all kinds of people. So I paid the rent and learned the world was a very strange place. There was the successful commercial artist who lived with the composer, who was so shy and retiring he could never invite her to his concerts, or even play the piano in her presence, and could only occasionally let her hear parts of the recordings of his compositions. Of course, he never composed a note. He played her pieces of Ralph Vaughan Williams recordings, couldn't play the formidable grand piano she bought him, and ran off with all her money. But that's just one more New York story. There was the contract negotiation with a representative of the Teamsters Union. He was built like a walking refrigerator, a big gold chain around his neck that was set off by a jagged scar across his throat and face. "I don't want no trouble, kid," was his jocular opening line, to which my silent rejoinder was, That's Mr. Kid to you, pal. Let's not forget the contract signed in a room at the Plaza Hotel, witnessed by two call girls, in which the feckless playboy son of an immensely rich South American industrialist promised his family would pay millions to two dodgy characters for services his father did not need. Sometimes I got to sue powerful international conglomerates. Once an old and sophisticated European consultant put his arm around my shoulders in Paris in the midst of such a case. He said, 20 years ago you'd be dead, but things are different now. How different, I thought. Well, stop there for today, and we'll continue on next time. I hope you're enjoying this, and I hope you think about getting a copy of my book, Manhattan, from Amazon. Take care, and we'll see you soon. Bye now.